Hello. Let me introduce the HUATAI palm fruit oil extraction process. The first step is to receive the fresh fruit bunch. That is, first pick the fresh fruit bunch through the ground, pump to the fresh fruit bunch receiving platform. Unload the fresh fruit bunch to the fresh fruit bunch receiving platform. 10 tons of fresh fruit bunch receiving platform generally requires the area of 15 meters by 15 meters. Then separate the fresh fruit bunch apart. Remove the low-quality ones. And then use the forklift to pour them into the unloading slope. There are 4 hydraulic doors on the unloading slope. The capacity of each hydraulic door is 20 tons. Then start the hydraulic motor and the fresh fruit bunch scraper. Lift the hydraulic door up. Let the fresh fruit bunch enter the fresh fruit bunch scraper, and then into the sterilizer station. After the fresh fruit bunch enters the fresh fruit bunch scraper, open the top door of the sterilizer tank. Put the hopper on the feeding pipe. Then, open the unloading scraper on the upper part, and close the hydraulic door when it is full. The hydraulic motor cannot be started for a long time, as it is likely to overheat easily. The steam intake is controlled by the PLC. It is automatic. Open the steam intake valve when it is full. It generally takes about 70 minutes for fresh fruit bunch feeding. When the sterilizing begins, we must open part of the electromechanical water seal valve. Electromechanical sealing is easy to get hot and expand. After the sterilizing finished, turn on the discharge auger. Convey the sterilized material into ripe fruit bunch feeding hopper. Then start the hydraulic valve first, and start the ripe fruit bunch scraper next. Feed the material into thresher uniformly. Then talk about the dirty oil treatment. The wastewater and oil discharged from the sterilizer tank enter the sewage tank. Then go to heat. Go through the dirty oil trough into the dirty oil pool, then is pumped into the dirty oil storage tank. Wastewater is also pumped into the dirty oil pool. Conveyed to the fruit elevator. Next is to the press station. There is a hot water tank on the top. 10 cubic meters. Can be heated to about 90 degrees. Digester heat is through the fruit distribution auger that feed to the digester. Convey the remaining fruit to the fruit elevator through the fruit removal auger. As for the motor of digester, the voltage is 37 kilowatts. The current is limited to 69 amps. This is the oil press. The temperature of the pounding tank is generally between 80 degrees and 90 degrees. And then slowly open the feed door. Enter the oil press. Start the motor of the oil press hydraulic pump station. The current of oil press is generally about 30 amps. The pressure inside the hydraulic pump station is between 30 to 40 MPa. The crude oil extracted from the oil press enters the sand settling tank through crude oil trough. And will stay in the sand settling tank for 30 minutes. Settled oil goes through the vibration filtration by the crude oil vibration screen and then enters the crude oil clear oil tank. The storage time is 15 minutes. And heat it up to 80 to 90 degrees. Then use crude oil pump to pump it to vertical clarifying oil tank with the stirring motor, 2 clear oil skimmers and 1 dirty oil skimmers on it. Skim the clear oil to clear tank, whose capacity is generally about 5 cubic meters. The clarification time is generally about 6 hours. Dirty oil tank is also 5 cubic meters. The dirty oil is skimmed into dirty oil tank by dirty oil skimmer. Open the valve, the clear oil from clear tank enters oil heating tank. And is pumped in centrifuge by oil heating tank pump. The oil leach from centrifuge goes into the upper vacuum dryer. Start the vacuum pump of vacuum dryer. Under the vacuum state, dehydrate the moisture of oil to the state meeting the storage condition. And then use the finished oil pump to pump the oil to oil tank for storage. The capacity of big tank is usually 500 tons per 2 weeks, 1,000 tons per 3 weeks. The oil in the tank, through dirty oil pump, is pumped to the upper horizontal spiral centrifuge. This is the Cantor centrifuge. Start is controlled by PLC. After start, flush it with hot water at first. Then open the valve. Make the material enter into the best state gradually. Separate the dirty oil, sludge and water. Put the processed crude palm oil and refined kernel oil into kernel oil tank and crude oil tank. Then send them to the oil distribution shed for loading by oil distribution pump. Now it is fiber separation system. The pressed cake is conveyed by crushing auger to the fiber separation station. And the fiber fan suck the fiber by cyclone to where the boiler needs it. The fallen nuts are polished by the polishing rolling drum, then enter the elevator to the grading screen. Go through 3 grade separation, and finally enter the nut silo. When the nuts pass through nut silo, open the lower plate and the nuts flow into the crusher. The crushed nut mixtures enter the crushed mixture elevator by crushed mixture auger. then is conveyed to the first-grade separation column. Afterwards, the shell fan will suck the shell into the area near the boiler room for combustion. And the separated kernel enters the drying kernel silo. The mixture of kernel and shell enter the mud bath separator for separation. Separated kernel enter the kernel elevator, and the shell into the shell auger. Discharge the shell to workshop wall outside. The dried kernel is elevated to the hopper from the lower auger elevator, and then enters kernel oil press. The moisture of kernel shall not be less than 7% and greater than 8%. This is the first grade oil pressing. The pressed cake shall be pressed again by the second grade oil pressing. The pressed cake is loaded into woven bags, which can be used as animal feed. The pressed oil, after the slag conveyor removing the slag, is filtered by the vibration filter, and then is sent to palm kernel oil temporary storage tank. Heating the palm kernel oil temporary storage tank to about 90 degrees is conveyed to the palm kernel oil storage tank by oil pump. It is the 5-ton refining unit. Water treatment. Pumped by the raw water pump into the high water tank. Then enter from the high water tank into the clarified water tank, into the pool. After add drugs by the dosing pump, and then go through the sand filter, and pump into the high clear water tank by the sand filter pump. Then go into the workshop to use. The boiler. Fiber is fed into the boiler by a conveyor chain for combustion. Water is pumped into the boiler by the boiler distribution pump. The steam from the boiler is usually required 7 to 8 kilograms. Which is fed into the steam distributor by a pressure-reducing valve and then conveyed into the workshop by the steam distributor. The oil plant generally has to have an air compressor, because the compressed air can be supplied to varieties of oil pumps of the sterilizing station for purging and use. Horizontal spiral conveyor. All the recovered oil shall enter the recovered oil tank and go through the settlement. There is the oil skimmer on it. Adjust the oil skimmer to skim the oil to dirty oil temporary storage bin, pump it to the clarifying station.